We all know the feeling, what can you believe, from our celebrities, our athletes, our people of high profile, our politicians, to the neighbor next door. Truth heals. What you hide can hurt you. Deborah King is the author. Welcome, Deborah. Thanks for being here. Fascinating book, fabulous book. It's a book long overdue, because many times we watch TV and we look at someone and we go, you know what? They are lying. And you can almost sense and tell it and feel it. Inspiration for the book, Deborah.
Great, thanks. And you know, we've been looking at those figures for years. I mean, think back to Clinton and, and O.J.
Yeah,
and,
we knew that they were lying.
Absolutely. It's just hard where to know, to look these days with Blgojevich, his appointee Roland Burris.
Inspiration for your book. A personal inspiration for this. You were diagnosed with cancer.
Back in my 20s, and I knew there had to be some emotional connection, something I was avoiding, some truth that I couldn't discern, so I stopped everything. I was on the fast track. I was a young attorney, and I stopped and thought, what am I lying to myself about? And once I tracked that information, I had an amazing remission.
What were you lying to yourself about?
I'd had a rough childhood, and I knew about it, but just didn't want to, process my emotions. And when you bury things like that down in your body, they come back in some form or another.
And Deborah, one of your quotes is, I mean, this affects our physical health. When we're lying, it affects every area of our life, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does, and it may start with coping mechanisms like, drinking and prescription drugs, and then the next thing you know, you've got anxiety and depression and sleeplessness, and then pretty soon you might have a full-blown disease process.
It can poison our entire system. You speak to the chakras.
I do. I've had a lot of training in a variety of systems in the last 25 years. I went the alternative medical route to deal with my cancer, and I learned a lot from Eastern sages, and I traveled the world and studied with really some amazing people.
From childhood we learn how to lie, though.
We do.
So how do we get out of that?
Well, it's easy. What I urge people to do is, first of all, remember, it's the lies we tell ourselves that really matter. So you just make a little list. Sit down, spend 5 minutes every night before you go to sleep, write down how you really feel about one thing. Maybe it's your mother-in-law, or what happened at work. Oh,
there's probably not enough paper for that one.
I love my mother-in-law, and she knows it.
Yeah, but we have feelings that writing down, it's amazing how it gets that material out of us, and that's the place to start. Don't try to change how you feel. Instead, just come to grips with how you feel, acknowledge it, honor it. When I was young and practicing law, I remember writing jealous, 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 and I had no idea I felt that way at the time. So,
because we have heard in psychology and psychiatry, a feeling is a fact for you. It's looking at it and identifying it, isn't it?
Yeah, it's all about identifying it. Change it later, but just come to grips with it
Well,
first.
that's why even when you talk about O.J. Simpson, he really believes what he says now.
Well, and that's why I like to look at these public liars, because even though they're at the extreme, they help us see our own stories. He came to believe his stuff. I think Bernie Madoff probably has convinced himself that he's really a saint.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah. Biggest liar out there. Who's the biggest liar in public life right now?
I think Blgojevich really won the prize here in the last month. I'm waiting for this month's
revelation.
Yeah, never know what's going to happen.
Stanford Financial is in the running.
And can you tell when somebody's lying? I mean, Tanya and I talk about it on the program all the time. Just from
there are lots of ways.
The body language.
Well, remember that 93% of all of our communications nonverbal. We just don't. We don't tune into it consciously. So the things to look for, with your friends and partners. Are is their mouth smiling but their eyes are not? Do they turn their body away? Are they avoiding eye contact? Do they put something like a coffee cup or a book between you and them? Those are all signs of avoiding the truth.
That's it. I'm done.
And then,
no, I'm moving them from her. I'm not putting it between you and I.
And then remember that your own body is an amazing lie detector kit. It's just built in. From our gut, we get those visceral hunches, about this guy can't be trusted or that street isn't safe. Honor those. Listen to that information. That body talk is invaluable.
So don't just cast
Don't turn it off. No.
Because we've all had that person in our lifetimes, maybe 2 or 3. We're lucky if that's all. maybe a stranger, and they walk up to you or come to you, and you just go,
you just know.
That shield goes up, you just go.
Yeah.
Yes.
And the more you listen to that, it's a muscle. It gets stronger and gives you even more and better information. Then there's your heart. Your heart does not lie to you if you really tune into it. It will tell you the truth about how you feel.
The truth hurts, though. So, I'm leading to a question.
Yeah.
Because most people, when you say tell the truth, I think we all want to tell the truth. But sometimes, isn't there a place for a little white lie or a...
Not really.
No?
Better to say nothing.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah,
So say
because
nothing at all.
it's a slippery slope, and the next thing you know, you're rolling downhill. You know, and you're invested in a web of lies. I think that's what happened to A-Rodr. You know, the next thing he was on 60 Minutes lying to Katie Couric.
So that cancer grows, is what you're saying.
Right. Right.
Now, what about people in the marketing field, which I happen to be in? Many times, you know, there's things you're saying that are not totally true. They're embellished to a degree. How does that, is that a lie, or you just, what are we doing there?
That's a great question, and I have a strong marketing background myself, and you know, it's hard not to exaggerate. It's marketing. But in fact, if it isn't true, it isn't true.
Yeah.
So
you need to come right to the point.
There is it a fine line, or is there a great distance between a little exaggeration and a lie? I mean, you can exaggerate without lying.
The best way to find that out is go to my website, truthheals.com.
Okay.
And on the home page, there's a quiz you can take that will give you a really good idea of just how truthful you're being with yourself.
Does lying come easier to some people than others?
I don't think so. I think that we're all capable of it, and you know, the more we practice it, the better we're going to get at it. So it's just the opposite. If you want to be truthful, today is the day to start.
And how has it affected your life?
Oh, well,
I mean, obviously
hugely.
it's in the book, but how? But can you share it with our audience?
Oh, you know, it changed my life in every way imaginable, because I not only faced my difficult childhood, but I faced the fact that corporate law really wasn't the direction I wanted to take, that I wanted to be in the alternative medical field. It changed everything. I started meditating, and the next thing I knew, I felt great.
Are you happy now?
I am. Yeah, I am.
You indicate when you talk about the chakras, and explain that quickly for people.
Well,
areas of the body.
That's a word it's a Sanskrit word that means wheel, and you know, we have an energy field that surrounds our body, and modern physics, of course, has validated that. And in that energy field that not only surrounds our body but every living thing, there are certain energy centers, and what happens is when we swallow our emotions, we push them down someplace, they stop one of those centers' movements or inhibit it or distort it. Next thing you know, you have a related disease. So, you know, if you swallow how you feel about your identity and get run over by someone and say, well, you know, I'm not going to object to that, maybe your boss, it's going to inhibit motion here in the area just above the waist. The next thing you know, you might have diabetes or problems with your liver.
There comes an ulcer, though, too. Sometimes that people
could
get
be.
many times
Could
with
be.
things like that.
So we need to release.
We need to always be processing our emotions. Emotions are healthy. It's when we hold on to them and deny them and push them down that they're not. But we need to let them out in ways that are not harmful to us or others.
So people that hold in anger.
It's a killer.
Yeah.
Heart disease is really connected to anger.
Do you think that today's society is more conducive to enabling people to lie more to us?
Interesting.
You know, that's a great question, and I think maybe that we've been through a period where we've been on this line. We were ascending, a binge. But I think we're now moving into a period of transparency. And that's why I wrote Truth Heals, to help with that motion, to
there
try
is
to
a
move
tribe
in that direction.
I want to say, you quote a tribe, I can't find it.
It's an Aboriginal tribe.
Yes, they have healing ceremonies.
Oh, you know, and it's so amazing. That's the kind of work that I do. In fact, I have an event tomorrow here in Prescott, and what I've learned from working with the ancient seers is that if I put a group of people together, just like we did thousands of years ago when we were a tribe, that and we listen carefully to what someone says, in my case it'll be an audience volunteer, that we can help them heal. It's just amazing. It's part of the transformation that comes from being with a group and really honoring what they have to say. It's all about listening deeply.